If you're a Republican, it is a special privilege to have something to do with Illinois, because our party started at the top with a guy named Abraham Lincoln. And everything that Lincoln ever said or did reflects back on Illinois and reflects forward into a better future for all Americans. It's the job of every generation and everybody to hold the office of Illinois Republican Chairman to interpret that heritage and to make it relevant. And I think with the party having propelled Bruce Rauner into the State House for the first time in 14 years, 12, 14 years, whatever it was, shows that a lot more Illinoisans are listening to the Republican message. And one of the key people responsible for that is our speaker today. A big City Club welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Illinois Republican Chairman Tim Schneider.
Thank you, Chris. I think you left me about 3 minutes, didn't you? Thank you. Thank you. Now, Jay, I'll bet you didn't have to turn down 5,000 people like you did the last time a Republican spoke here, did you, to come here today? I want to thank you all for being here today and listening to what we might have to say here, but a little bit about what's going on here in Illinois. You know, many state party chairmen might begin their remarks by telling you about a Democrat who was on a beach in Florida and a bottle washed up on shore. And he looked at the bottle, he picked it up, and he opened the bottle, and a genie popped out. And the genie said to this Democrat, "I'm going to grant you one wish." The Democrat said, "That's easy. I want to be smarter." Poof! He turned into a Republican. All right. Or the other day, I was walking down the street, and I offered a Democrat a penny for his thoughts. You know what I got? Change. Exactly. I got change. But these are jokes. And while there are striking differences between Republicans and Democrats, what increasingly frustrates me is the unwillingness of Democrats to support good ideas from Republicans, and for Republicans who are unwilling to help Democrats when they have good ideas. I will be the first to tell you that Tony Preckwinkle has brought in a new age of accountability, transparency, and professionalism in Cook County. I will also tell you, do we differ on many things? We differ on a great many things, particularly the most recent sales tax increase. But when somebody does something good, you need to acknowledge that they're doing something good. No party has a monopoly on good ideas. And compromise is not a dirty word. I ask you, all you married men and women in this room, men and women in this room, have you ever had to compromise? I think we all have to compromise every day on where our kids go to school, what vacations we take, what car we drive, what restaurant we want to have dinner in, and in my family, more often than not, who holds the remote? And because I'm a big Sons of Anarchy fan, and my wife hates shoot 'em ups, so we're always battling about that. So today, I want to speak to you about the state of our political system in Illinois. As you all know, Democrats and Republicans are in the middle of an historic budget showdown in Springfield. I want to give you my take on it and why I so strongly support Governor Rauner in his fight. Voters chose change last November when they elected Bruce Rauner. When I spoke here last year, we were just a few short weeks away from re-electing Pat Quinn or electing Bruce Rauner as the governor of Illinois. We're just a few short weeks away from continuing another 2 years of total Democrat control in our Illinois legislature. In my opinion, we're a few short weeks away from solidifying the failure of the state of Illinois. The old adage that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result was true in Illinois. With their choice of Bruce Rauner, Illinois voters chose a different path. They were tired of electing career politicians over and over again. They were tired of the job losses. They were tired of the tax increases. They were tired of the failing schools. They wanted change. They chose Bruce Rauner. Governor Rauner ran as an outsider because he was going to shake up Springfield. And that's exactly what he is doing. Bruce Rauner is right. Illinois is broken, and it needs to change. Governor Rauner beat Pat Quinn by a comfortable margin. But because of gerrymandered district lines and the entrenched forces that control politics in Illinois, Democrats maintain control of supermajorities in our state House and our state Senate. We now have two great forces in Springfield. The first Republican governor in 12 years in Bruce Rauner, and we now have one of the most powerful legislators in Illinois history in Speaker Mike Madigan. We have passed the 100-day mark without a budget in Illinois. And yet when I talk to the governor, I urge him to keep fighting. And frankly, the majority of Illinoisans agree with me. It's simply too late for Illinois to stay on the same path that it's been on for decades. Governor Rauner firmly believes that by creating a friendlier business climate, we can entice new businesses to move into Illinois. When we do this, we create jobs right here in Chicago, Rockford, Decatur, Rock Island, Murfreesboro, throughout the entire state of Illinois. Businesses are encouraged to expand and hire a workforce that I believe in Illinois is frankly second to none. With that growth also comes vast resources for our local and our state government. We cannot continue to tax our way to prosperity. We must grow our way to prosperity. People and businesses in Illinois have choices, and many have made the choice to leave this state, leaving the remaining of us to pay their share of taxes. We must end this culture of raising taxes to fill our budget shortfalls and move towards a model of improving our business climate and driving companies into Illinois, thereby providing jobs, allowing people to buy homes and pay property taxes, allowing people to buy goods and services and pay sales taxes, and allowing people to earn money and pay income taxes. Simply put, more jobs, more people, more taxes. You create a better tax system when you have more taxpayers. To fix this, we need direct business reforms. We need workers' comp reform. We need tort reform. And we need property tax reform. But we also need political reforms to give the business community confidence that Illinois won't simply revert back into its old ways of doing business. That is, the climate of higher taxes, more regulation, and an overall unfriendly business climate. We need term limits and redistricting reform. We need these reforms now. We can't just kick the can down the road any longer and do nothing to reform our business as usual policies here in Illinois. You've seen the numbers, you've heard the horror stories. Most of us have seen the consequences in some way in our own eyes. But here's a few things I'd like to have you think on. Illinois lost 81,000 people and $4.1 billion of annual taxable income in 2013. By far the worst loss in Illinois history. This amounts to losing one resident and $50,000 worth of annual taxable income every 6.5 minutes. Illinois is home to the worst employment recovery in the country since the Great Recession. Illinois is the only state in the region where more people have begun receiving food stamps than have started jobs since the Great Recession. Illinois is the only state in the region to lose manufacturing jobs over the last 3 years, while other states around us have added tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs. These numbers don't lie. The only thing that's going to change Illinois is structural reform. And I've seen it in my own eyes. As many of you know, I have a couple of small businesses. Every year it gets harder and harder because we're squeezed. The revenues remain flat, the expenses go up. We're squeezed tighter and tighter every year. I just found out last Thursday, my legislative assistant, he's got a nice job in my county office, said to me his lease was up at the end of October. He's leaving me to move back to Indiana. He said to me in these words, he didn't see himself settling down here. or making Chicago his home. He thought the burden of state pensions, county pensions, city pensions, police pensions, fire pensions, CPS, school teachers' pensions were overburdening our tax system. He also said the straw that broke the camel's back was really the unfriendly sales tax increase that Cook County leveled on people. 2 months ago, my 23-year-old son, Casey, moved to Austin, Texas. He had a great job with Granger, but said, "Dad, I'm picking it up. I'm moving to Texas." Do you know that Texas has created more jobs since 2009 than all the jobs created in the rest of the country? They're doing things. They're pro-business and pro-growth climate. Governor Rauner has publicly and adamantly said that he's willing to compromise on things. He's willing to raise revenue, but only if we get structural reforms that will improve the state's business climate and the burden on Illinois families. Speaker Madigan said he's protecting the middle class and that the governor's agenda will destroy working families. Well, tell me, how have the broken promises and the failed policies of the last decade done for Illinois families? Do you remember when they raised the income tax by 66%, said it was going to fix our structural deficit and pay down our bills? Do you remember that? Now, Speaker Madigan is entitled to his opinion. And the fact is, and you need to know this, he and President Cullerton can pass a budget and their demanded tax increases on their own anytime they want to do it. In May, they passed a budget with a $4 billion hole on a party line vote, but they didn't come up with any plan to pay for it. They have the votes, they have the supermajority. If they don't agree with balancing the budget and they don't agree that Illinois needs structural changes, they can pass their budget and their tax increases on their own, and we can all go home. This is the essence of the budget showdown in Springfield. Governor Rauner is willing to compromise. He has taken many of his original proposals off the table in the spirit of compromise. On the other side, Speaker Madigan and his allies in the legislature don't want to give an inch. The Illinois Republican Party acts as a messenger for what Governor Rauner is trying to do to turn our state. Now, I'm not going to open up our playbook to you, but we're building the framework for victory right now for 2016. We're raising the money, we're recruiting the candidates, providing the training, developing our volunteer network, and building our data, digital, and ballot integrity programs right now. We know it won't be easy in a presidential year of 2016, but we're ready for that challenge. We stand here today without a budget for 100+ days. As the chairman of the Illinois Party, I'm here to advocate for and stand with our governor. My goal as chairman is to take this message to the people of Illinois. If they want change, they need to stand with Governor Rauner. If they're satisfied with the status quo and business as usual, then people need to support Senate President Cullerton and Mike Madigan. I choose to stand with the governor. The Illinois Republican Party stands with the governor. While we're stuck in the middle of a historic budget showdown right now, I'm excited, however, for the future of Illinois. I'm excited because of Bruce Rauner. He's saying what needs to be said, and he's fighting for change from business as usual and the status quo in Illinois. I know his heart, I know who he is, and I know he's only here to make the lives of all Illinoisans better. It's not an easy fight, but it's a fight worth fighting. Let's compromise and get it done. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
Time for a couple of questions?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Sure. All right. Questions on the cards, and just send them on up, and we'll get them, and we'll read through them. All right. This is from City Club member Ashvin Ladd. Going into the 2016 Republican National Convention, do you foresee any major changes to the national platform?
Well, that's tough, yeah. No, I don't. I don't see any major changes to our platform nationally or at a state level.
Neil Nason is a member of the City Club, and he asks about immunizing Chicago flu shots at the workplace. Why does it seem so difficult to end government funding of Planned Parenthood? Did I get that right? I'm just reading what I've got here.
Well, I think that's more of a policy question. He's not saying you look at the question. Just look at it. Anyway, I know what you meant, Paul. Okay. I'm not going to get into a policy discussion about Planned Parenthood today, but I think we all know that there have been things that have been done and probably shouldn't have been done, but we also have a great many other issues that need to be talked about when we resolve that type of situation, and I don't want to get into policy right now. It's not my bailiwick. Now, if you want to talk about county politics and policies, I can do that.
Okay. Father Ryan asks, what option does Illinois have to change gerrymandering and the politics of redistricting? And of course, right now there's the Fair Map proposal that is out there circulating.
Well, that's a good question. Well, we could do it legislatively, or we could the Republicans are leading the charge to go around and get the number of signatures necessary to get Fair Map on the agenda. Of course, you know that Fair Map and term limits were thrown off last year. We actually had the number of signatures necessary for term limits, but through some court proceedings, those were thrown out, and apparently there weren't enough good signatures on the Fair Map. But what we've done in the state of Illinois, in my opinion, is a travesty in drawing up our districts, and in many cases, not necessarily state House and Senate districts, which I think are bad as well, but in our congressional districts, where we have what we have now is very far right districts and left districts, so there's no willingness for anyone to compromise in the middle, because when they go home to their district, they need to represent that constituency that might be that far right. They try to move to the middle, they get primaried in the next election, and they're out. That's wrong. There's no willingness to compromise, and that's one of the biggest reasons why, is because of gerrymandering of our congressional districts. It's going on in our House and Senate districts more or less to just build constituencies that will get people elected. Today, it's unfortunate that more often the people don't elect their legislative leaders. The legislative leaders elect the people who vote for them.
Terrific. Here's from Dan Busby, Boy Scouts of America, City Club member. What victories can be learned from Michigan Governor Rick Schneider and applied to Illinois?
I wish I knew. I haven't followed Rick Schneider very much. I know that the governor would speak to me when we were doing our bus tours about many times about the policies that were going on in Indiana with Mitch Daniels. He seemed to like the policies that were going on very much with that. What Rick Snyder's done, what Scott Walker's done, what Rick Perry has done, and what Mitch Daniels did, and now Mike Pence in Indiana, you see these governments, these states thriving, and don't want to get biased, but they're under Republican leadership. Look at what's gone on in Texas, in the last 2 decades. Texas is thriving. All these states around us are thriving. And Illinois, the capital of the Midwest, the finest state in the Midwest, and in my opinion, the finest state in the country, is wallowing in mediocrity. And that needs to change.
And this is from Elsie St. Nybar, a member of the City Club and editor of a newspaper, Via Times. Via Times, is that right? Okay. Last election, we endorsed Bruce Rauner. I guess that's Via Times. Illinois money problems could never be resolved through a stalemate between Governor Rauner and Speaker Madigan. I think it says, is the governor really going to compromise for the people? Do you think Mike Madigan will compromise?
Well, as I said in my remarks, I think the governor is willing to compromise. He's already said he's willing to accept revenue, but you're not going to turn the state around until we get some tort reform, workers' comp reform. People all over this country. I was talking to a gentleman the other day. That's what he does for a living. He locates businesses. He said he located 33 businesses in the last year. He located one business in Illinois, and he was surprised that business came to Illinois. He had no idea why they'd even want to come here. We are unfriendly to business in Illinois, especially compared to our states nearby around us. So we need these structural reforms, and the governor is willing to accept revenue, which is not something Republicans do. We're willing to accept revenue, but we need structural reforms because Republicans believe that we need to grow the tax base, not tax. And we need to grow the number of people who pay into the tax system, not burden the people who are here with more taxes, which in take drives them out.
Any more? You have a question? You were writing some down.
Taking notes, sir.
Okay. All right. Here's our last question from Executive Director Tweed Thornton of the City Club. Chairman Schneider, what are you hearing are the top issues for Republican voters in the 2016 presidential election?
Wow. Well, I think editorially that we really need to, I think foreign policy and protecting the people of this country. And I think over the last few years, we've done a pretty bad job of that. And I think we need to look at protecting the people here and be more aggressive overseas. I think our economy is, while growing, is not growing at a level that it needs to grow. So I think truly, I think everybody would say that protecting the citizens of this country and establishing a strong, firm foreign policy position and having the other countries in this world know who they can count on and who they can't count on, and establishing pro-growth economic policies are the two things that Republicans will be looking for in 2016.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Tim Schneider.